Mimi and Petra, those two combined have more LAN experience than everyone else on the stage combined, including their teammates.
Well, it's been a long year. It's time to see these rosters bloom here on Lotus as the barriers go up. And we see GX mount that defensive side. You can already see there's a bit of an idea to get aggressive through that smoke. They've gone. Miori's got a bit of a challenge on her hand, and she will lose that fight. Players ready at the door to support, wanting to swing out with a paranoia perhaps, but the space hasn't been committed to just yet. G2 are waiting for a push to come in, and that's exactly what they get here on middle, but it's a whole lot of players, and the utility might send them back in the other direction, but they've equalized early on.
This leaves the C site with a pretty vast opening. Rescue to lead the charge, and you see GX already looking to try and set up for that retake. Mentioned it, there's going to be a lot of defensive aggression when it comes to the compositions that they're running, but it's definitely not going to be an easy task if that fails. Retake is going to be tough.
No, there's a challenge, but at least they kept that paranoia over on that attack side, ready to fire it out. The nade already landed. That's going to completely delay the stun, countered out by that utility thrown in. In fact, the reveal might catch them. There it is. There's a big wall in the way, so no wall bangs to come through, but they've got the information. And for GX, losing another player, now having to push out of a smoke up against two players holding. It's a death sentence, and it proves to be 1-0 for G2.
Yeah, stellar start. And they're going to know what they're up against here. You see a chamber over on that defensive side. You know that there's going to be players up in your face early. You know there's going to be people pushing continuously, and especially in a pistol round where you don't have all of your utility for retakes, you're going to go aggressive. But they were definitely ready for it. A quick pivot back towards the C site, and I think that's where things truly get scary. Deadlock C site executions, you can delay a pistol round, you're trying to break deadlock walls, like it's just going to be rough. And then also just post-plant utility. This round, though, not a whole lot of investment. And for the attack again, patient play.
That's the right play against these early pushes. The space taken by GX, punished. With only one player down, that serves as a disadvantage. It's not terrible to start out a round like this. If they can keep up trades into the late round, that's fantastic. But it's tough to do.
I don't know what's going on with Jolina's X-ray. That's something I don't think I've ever seen before.
That's a new move set for Omen, and it's worked.
The magic tricks have completely confused Rescue. They're starting to get a little bit dangerous. Amy tanked to 47 HP. They still have rifles on the remaining players for G2, and losing this battle should be a tough one. Jolina on 1 health, and well, quickly dismantling the remaining forces. It's going to leave a late rotation from Miori.
5 shots in the headhunter, Tom. 5 bullets to find their mark. Hey, it's doable. Hasn't retrieved the rifle, but still 4 deadly bullets loaded and ready to go. The step onto the site, 1 player covering. That's Petra. Ready on the angle. And a quick swing from her teammate. The cost here is the real question that has to be answered. How many weapons can Miori drop? Can she make this round competitive? And well, the answer to that's a bit underwhelming. Nothing to be found, and it's G2 and 0.
It's not maybe as clean as they would have liked. Few players lost. And again, you're seeing that same sort of defensive setup that I think we're going to get throughout the entirety of the game. Maybe a switch up to a little bit more in terms of rubble control. Now that we are out of those sort of early, weaker buys for the side of GX. I want to state the facts as well, that even though I think all 3 of the first few maps are going to be favored to G2, this is the heaviest. This is the one where they have been an unstoppable force. I would say teams getting to 7 rounds versus them on this map has been a good sign. And well, speaking of good signs, Rescue down, Smurfette winning that initial fight. It was mentioned on the desk as well that she was the original Turkish Jet within Game Changers. Rescue might have stolen that mantle, but there's always time to take it back.
There absolutely is. There's Amy taking down Miori. A site under threat. It's opened wide. And they can just walk straight in. B site triple stack up from the side of GX. And just now, as the drone is being sent through, it might just make it far enough to spot the player in the corner. And yeah, Vanya's going to be in some danger. A lot of danger. In fact, the reveal serving to get them to kill. Sure, advantage now for GX, but they are going to have to retake the A site, and there's a lot of weapons that they're up against.
And they have the utility to do so. Like, setting up with a breach over on a retake gives you opportunities. Amy, low on HP, is going to attempt to just find an off angle. Did find it for a second, but isn't able to get the punish. Will have to be the fallback into more passive positions. Mimi, though, still fighting strong, but the trade will be immediate. Keeping that advantage with GX and a wraparound coming in from behind. The paranoia just about catches onto Amy, but she still gets one. Even still, though, Petra isn't going to be able to take the clutch home. And that will be the first round on the board for GX. A slightly more costly one than they might have liked, but it's a round nonetheless.
Well, that's it, Tom. At the end of the day, it's a round on the board that's going to put a smile on your face. And certainly, if you're on the side of GX. G2, early fights have been good. They're winning rounds, and here, well, they have a scrap that goes their way. Just the lurker inside of mid getting caught, I think, gave that competitive edge to GX. It's a narrow margin. Things like that, when Miori going down, it certainly made us worry. Being able to get there in the end, I think a lot of it comes back to, like you said, Tom, when you're looking at this composition, you're going to be comfortable in playing those retakes and stacking up 3 players on B, even after losing that initial pick, and not overreacting, because you know that if it comes down to a 4v4 retake, if you don't catch a player in mid, they'll still have the utility to do it. And that's a pick from Miori towards the A site. Rubble congestion completely shut down.
Oh, she's caught in the net. They're hurt. Rescue's going to go in for the battle. And that removes Jolina. There is an immediate response from Nest to at least reclaim the ground, and Sarah as well with a pincer. This is constant pressure from GX, and Sarah thriving within these battles. It's going to leave a G2 side with a lot to be desired. Rescue, she's done this before, but they're ready. They're expecting someone to try and make a move, and now Mimi, one of the more experienced players, has to fight versus 3, but look at the way GX already going to build up. They're going to take this one as a full unit.
The utility's already in the back, starting to narrow down the angles that they have to clear. Mimi, here's the steps, here's the stun, but doesn't land the first shots, and now they know where she is. Smurfette closing it out, and, well, that'll be 2-2. GX competing early on. G2 won't run away with this one.
No, and I like as well, there's a lot of aggression that's coming through from the defense that makes things awkward, but it is tempered. When they get into advantages, they're not just running riot like sideline. We saw it in a couple of games, especially one of the games that qualified them here. Like Smurfette was just obliterating people. I think it was Icebox Neon, and it was just, it was bullying. It's not like that. It's like, okay, Sarah's taking fights, but once they win those battles, once they get the advantages, just fading away. And although you're always going to give Mimi an opportunity in those clutches, they made sure that moving as a unit, they'll take it as 3. Now, this should put G2 into a position of weaker weaponry. And well, you can already see Sheriff, but it does seem like Rescue has something to play with.
Quite a big investment of utility in the early round for Rubble. GX not looking to give it up, and knowing that they've probably tagged a couple of these players. I thought Vanya would be a little bit lower. The shock dart seemed to be on her, but I guess she evaded it just about. Now, only taking a tickle from that initial cross. The patience is commendable from G2. The fact that they have sat in their position this entire time, just waiting for that re-peak, waiting for someone. A couple rounds ago, Miori, in this moment, went out to check Rubble, got her head ripped off, and they're hoping there's a little bit of a deeper clear. But little do they know, there's still 4 players on the other side of that corner.
Oh, Smurfette's going to go looking, and she's going to find, well, everything she was looking for. 3 players. Jolina goes jumping up and actually just obliterates them. A few style points for the Omen. Oh, wow, this leaves G2 with very little to play with. Small amounts of HP, Amy on just 5. Although Miori's low as well. They might garner themselves a plant. And Mimi does have a full belt of utility. The barrier mesh will slow them down at least a bit. And she does have her ult, but I would be surprised unless she can find a very quick kill if Annihilation will be put into play.
There we go. Cleaned up in the end. And it's GX going in for another diffuse, really starting to get a grip on this series now. Obviously, for those of you at home who are wondering what's going on, with a little bit of a technical glitch in the Matrix, they're not going to have the HUD on just yet, but it should be back soon. We're working on it there in the background. But for now, we'll take you by the hand and guide you through what you're
No,
witnessing.
not that cable. No, the other one.
No, not that one. No!
No, yeah. Well, you're the one doing it. What do you mean?
Oh, sorry.
You're the tech guy.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's why. Someone should have told me that earlier.
You need to read your contracts properly, Mitch.
But yeah, we'll take you by the hand and take you through these rounds until that's back up online. And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. For now, unless my memory really does need work, it's 3-2 for GX. They were 2-2.
2-2.
And then +1.
Then they got the the 2 rounds, and then there was the
3-2.
then they had Nico. So yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
There you go. Well done.
Tom's eyes have been batting back and forth while he recounted that information. It looked like he was character out of Dune. But yeah, we've got a little bit of a timeout for now. And with a 3-2 scoreline on the board, what a fantastic start this is to the finals. You just have to hope that that sort of closeness in scoreline remains throughout the series.
No, it's a long, long way to go. I think this would be a statement. Like, as said, most teams, if you go over even the last few months playing on Lotus versus G2, it has not even been remotely close. Like 13-5 versus NASA, 13-6 versus Odd One Out, 13-5 versus Alternate Attacks. In fact, the last time anybody even got, I want to say, to 8 rounds was Falcon's last stage. It wasn't even in this one, and even then, no one got to 10. So it's a scenario where over the last few months, nobody's even gone remotely close. So I think for GX, especially on that defensive side, getting off to a flying start is going to be so important. But we know they've been putting the work in, and they are looking to play that unorthodox, aggressive style. Mimi, her ultimate was online, but she is dead already. And with her death, revives the HUD.
Yeah, thank you very much to the folks in the background for working on that.
What up, Mitch?
Thank you. Yes, it was difficult to watch the game and solve it, but you know, not many people are as talented as me. Looking at this, GX, 3-2 like we said, defensive side, 5-player retake, Flash already there, Rescue's gone down below, 100 Fury's caught for one burst, not the second, she's still alive and doing damage, taking names while the nade blocks the rest of the crew. Jolina slips down below and now is in a bit of trouble herself. This is a disaster with a showstopper landed. Rescue shouldn't be alive right now, and somehow she's dictating the pace of the end of the round. Finally, she'll meet her demise, and Jolina, one bullet not gonna land, goes for the reload, being hunted right around the corner, and Amy's there to seal the deal. Ness having to get it done, and will not find the first. G2 get away with murder, 3-3.
I think that's one where you remove the kill feed from the beginning of those rounds, and I don't know who's winning it. Because from what we saw, it looked like Rescue should have been dead to rights. And I feel like that's a statement or a sentence that is said far too often in Game Changers EMEA, is that she survives in scenarios where no one else possibly could. Nade in hand, 2 players are going to peek her and pulls the gun out just in time. Pops a showstopper on 30 HP, confident. And then Amy's there to close out the round as well. Scoreline equalized just as we can visualize it. But there's still finances to be played with. They are ready again for this aggression. The second layer, well, eventually expected. And well, this is the sort of thing. You see a pause, you give an opportunity to the leader, called leader, and immediately G2 are ready for anything that's going to be thrown at them.
We've tied it up, and G2 set their sights on the B site. Massive advantage for them on the way in. The only downside, this is where GX are waiting. The Prowler didn't catch the player in the close corner. Luckily, they will find it with the HUD, but not realize. And Miori able to put a real dent in this round. It comes down to just Vanya, a 5v2 that nearly goes the other way. But thanks to Vanya, G2 secure the lead.
That to me looks like a LAN round. I'm not going to give people that excuse too often. I don't want to do that throughout this game. But when you throw out a haunt, someone shoots it, and no one checks the angle, I do wonder if just nobody realized where that bullet was shot from.
Yeah,
it's definitely a blip, and one that G2 just about survived. That 2v5 was so unbelievably close. It's a lot of cost. The problem is GX don't have the finances to now go back into the round and punish them for it. They're going to try and do as much damage as they can with the pistol. Smurfette, I believe, has already spotted the head of one, and with the tour de force. There's an opportunity here for Mayuri, but they are using so much utility to try and force her off.
Tour de force A, we go C. It's a logical progression, and it seems to be working out with 4 players towards the A sider in the connector. There is only Jolene stood on that C site to hold off against this onslaught. And I thought she was going to go play the retake, and indeed she will. But actually, she's forced to. She wanted to stick around, but that utility sent the packet.
This retake's not going to be an easy one. Ultimate to play with is the tour de force, and it's been spotted. But you can kind of expect more passive positions to take that rescue. Immediately swings. They're even going to punish with the annihilation. You don't even have the weapons to break her out if you wanted to. And Rescue's looking to just farm up as many orbs as possible. Last player to go down will be Ness. Obviously going to fight this one, doesn't really have anything left to save, and while Vanya's there to help out her Turkish counterpass. And Andaluthia flawless for G2. As I said, it was a 3-2 scoreline in their opponent's favor. It very quickly turns.
Yeah, and Tom, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe time dilatation's hit, but I thought that Rescue used her ult very recently, and it seems she's 2 away from having it. Almost 1 away with that last kill.
She is kind of good at the game.
She's playing pretty well, it has to be said. Even a player removed from this round, she's still getting close to that ultimate. But it's a big round, farming up on the anti-eco, all those orbs, and maybe even that one more that could have been found. Well, it's going to certainly give them a beautiful safety net to fall back on, possibly in the next round. So for GX, this is somewhere that they've got to lock in because, yes, it's been close so far. We traded out the rounds, 2-2, 3-2 lead for GX. But this is where the game that everyone expects to see here today, or at least most people do, at least Billy and Tom do, it's where that game starts to kick into full gear. And you're just going to see potentially G2 run away with it. At least in the back of GX's minds, that has to be something that they're looking to address coming into this round.
But there are a few teams in history I will put my full faith in. I would say Fnatic on their run last year.
Yep.
I think is a pretty safe bet. I would say the current, like Shopify, while they're playing over in Americas, their runs have been impeccable. And G2, pretty much since they've been G2, since they joined this game.
Day one. Yep. And even since before then.
Yeah.
When they were the
originals, when they were even in Valorant, and yeah, before then,
other games.
There've been many iterations, but I see Petra, I see Mimi, I see talented players. I know that this is a team to trust in, and but I'll be honest, I haven't had a reason to change my mind in the last few years, so I don't think it'll be the same today.
2 players close, caught by that big ult used as well. Vanya, she's been seen. That was smart, trying to take away their sound and then use the TP to get behind them. It won't work. No extra angle to fight for. And maybe I can even be thankful. Mayuri might have picked her up on the way back. Ready for the retake. All of GX waiting to go through. And just as the signal is put up, G2 push in. They take the space of their own. They win the fights. And now they've got upper control. This was a split, and instead it's just one angle they're approaching from. Easy to deal with for G2. And with 4 players alive and a showstopper for the next round, this is starting to look scary. It's already 6-3 in their favor.
Yeah, the last 4 rounds, and the closest one was the 2v5 they almost lost. Yep. Other than that, it's been squeaky clean for the side of G2. And that's the thing that's always so impressive. Like, any duo alongside Rescue with these aggressive pushes in post plants. That second fight, she was on 16 HP, but just knowing the swing out to trade her teammate, and then they have another avenue to control. G2 are never just sitting back and waiting for their opponents to come to them, and it makes setting up your own retakes incredibly difficult, especially if you don't have an ult or 2 to really pad the gap. Again, some weaker weapons. Sarah is going to invest into having a rifle. Already has all the utility for the next round anyway, so it would just be the repurchase of the gun that could be an issue, Smurfette. They're going to try more audacious things in these rounds, but I do think that some of that early aggression that was successful, now that it's failed a couple of times, it's whether or not you keep running into that blender or whether or not you start playing more passive, and that's where this comp just isn't as good.
Well, that's the thing, right? You sort of make your bed and you lie in it, but as these rounds go on, it's going to start to eat away. Rescue, big ult, that's 2 found already, and and a third! Rescue seems unstoppable. And for GX, certainly feels that way. And finally, she's put to bed.
HP.
5 HP is all Miori gets away with, and still, when you deal with Rescue eventually, there's only the entirety of G2
Yeah. I feel like she's
with.
going like, don't matter, got orb.
Yeah, got my orb, all good.
The terrifying thing is if her ult kills counted to the orbs, she'd have an ult every 2 rounds.
Game over, man.
It is 7-3. These attack sides versus everyone they played against have been dominant. Like, you can have an expectation of 9 rounds on the attack. Now, I will say that in most cases, you'll look at a GX team and go, yeah, the attack's where they're going to pick up the majority of their rounds. The issue with this map in particular is the chamber kind of changes that. I feel like it's very difficult to run this agent on the attack side, especially with a lot of the time you just having to hold. You're going to rely a lot more on Smurfette, which I think is always a big part of GX teams anyway. She is a centerpiece to whatever team she's in. For now, though, I'm looking to see if they can find a response.
Well, it is about time, isn't it? Operator on Miori pushing down A, taking the space, allowing the rotations. If G2 are a little bit late going for this push, they might be running into a number of people, but take a look at that attack setup. Still 2 players sat outside of B. They're putting pressure on C, making it obvious early that's where they want to go. But I think that door is going to open. We're going to see this squad swing back, and a lot of it relies on if they get an opening kill. I can see Smurfette was looking for the fight on B, but she didn't find it successfully, but also didn't go down, which is the main thing. G2 now looking at their options. And they're considering the A site. That's where the op is.
Yeah, they should have Petra there to maybe send the Prowler through, but Miori might be able to avoid this one. It's more just the silence that's being created. You're kind of expecting some sort of aggressive push, and already the swing back out. It's actually Rescue going in on the other side. They've had to switch up where that Hunter's Fury was going. It was a misread. The expectation of them going in that other direction, because the Duelist was seen running in towards that C site. It was a ruse sold by G2, and now they have the post plan they wanted all along.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Even having the TP to anchor to go back to B, but Miori falling might not be the end of the round. They've dropped Vanya, opened up some space towards the site, needed to be wary of Amy on Rubble, and they've done just that. Put her in a box, took her out, they know where both players are. This is starting to look up for GX with just 1 player standing between them and a firing squad awaiting that swing. GX are back on the board, and it's not too late just yet. A 7-5 half is definitely doable.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be bad, especially with the way things have been going over the last few. I think as well, just making it work in that post plant. Catching the aggressive position initially, I was a little bit worried that at worst for G2, that would be a 1-for-1 trade, but they come out clean. And well, it has to be said, a lot of the successful G2 post plants have been basically setting up Rescue and putting her in a position to get aggressive. Well, she died early. That was the fake. That was the ruse. So that's definitely helped them out a bit.
Oh, we got to find the difference up top. Let's see if we can play that during the halftimes. 7-4. 1 round left to play for before we go for our halftime break. And for GX, with 4 rounds on the board, they are most certainly hoping that this one falls into their hands. They've already gone for some aggression. With an nade thrown through and a trap destroyed on that A site, there is still pressure for Amy. She can't even safely cross back just yet, at least not in her mind. Pressure will still be applied on the other side. Amy left for the late flank while Rescue falls immediately. TP through from Vanya, gets some space. Spike hasn't gone in just yet. They're still stalling him, but 3 players stacked up here. This could be dangerous, but they don't realize that Vanya's in. It could have been a second kill, but finally, they've realized just where she is. They're aware, they're ready, but still to deal with her, and the showstopper does just that. 7-5 at the halftime, a recoverable scoreline for a GX who aren't down and out just yet.
Yeah, I was very worried that that was going to end up as more of a 9-3 half, but a late resurgence coming through from GX and put them in a good position. We'll see if they can turn it after this break.
Well, folks, we're back into the game, and it looks like G2 on that defensive side will have a bit of a challenge on their hands. GX got the momentum to close out that previous half, and now we'll see if they can carry it forward into the pistol round, an important place to get that momentum on your side. Because if G2 start, it's going to be difficult to stop them.
Oh, they've got a trap. A nasty trap. Petra in the corner. It's not been cleared, but even still, the 1-for-1 trade. Then again, no, there's rescue. Always right place, right time. And with the shots to double up, she's not going to be overwhelmed. She was left alone as the defender of the A site, and she finds 4 for it.
Well, the conversation from the last half seems to have continued. ResQ needs to be investigated. Her skills are too good to be allowed. This is ridiculous. 4 kills, ripping off the pistol, and she was popping out showstoppers like they were regular abilities, free abilities.
It's funny. They get past the trap, the 1-2, and then there's just a third player. So all you have to do is deal with, wait, let me check notes. ResQ, oh. Could it have been anyone else? Anyone else, please?
And just look what that does to the energy. GX losing that, of course you're gonna feel dejected. That was your round. And on the side of G2, morale is sky high. They're fired up now, coming into the second half. Lean already under their belt and extending. They found one, and now they found an opening pick with Miori down, the player with the headhunter. A lot of the dangers of this GX attack are starting to fade away with just classics left. Even the conversation of damage will be difficult. If one player's playing a pistol, another on an SMG. G2 have got a margin for error.
Maybe. Will not be fooled. Smurfette trying to walk through the setup. Of course, that is the thing. When you know there's a deadlock on the other side, if you're sneaky, sometimes you can avoid what's available. Well, kills like that are almost a little bit too easy. Sarah will at least get one. As you said, there is a margin for error, but it's whether or not Petra can actually get there. And, well, they're going to lose a stinger instead. Still, not the end of the world for G2, or a relatively clean round for that defensive side. Oh, damn. I saw Yori lurking in the background as well. ISO in the forefront. I'm digging it.
And Gecko was alpha here. He's changed his hair color, man. I mean, I don't know.
He's not dyed it green.
He went to the consultancy and he didn't listen. I liked it. KFC style was nice.
Well, you liked the blonde.
The Colonel Sanders, yeah. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked good. I said it to him, but he laughed it off. He didn't agree. It is what it is. He doesn't agree with my style. It's whatever. 9-5. G2. A lot of control here on that defensive side, but now they come up against rifles. This should be a challenge. But when you look at what they've brought into the round, the Outlaw, it's going to be able to go pound for pound. Everyone has heavy shields, at least on GX, so it's not that dangerous. And a pistol, but then there's rifles. And look, even one player, especially if their name is ResQ, having a rifle, means that it's not a free round. The side of G2 will be fighting, and it's a paranoia to let ResQ push straight through for more! She just cannot be stopped! 3, and it's only a lack of ammunition that puts it to bed. But with 40 HP on Ness, this round's done. They had weaknesses. Sure, not a lot of them, but with ResQ, there is no weakness. It just can't be found.
That leaves Ness with a tough task. 42 HP.
Standing ahead.
Not a lot of positives. Waiting on a crossfire, it needs to be a 1-2 punch, and it's a 0 nothing punch instead. Just waiting patiently, and as said, not a lot of teams have managed to get past 6 rounds. Right now, it is looking like that could be the case here for GX. The strength of G2, and well, more importantly, the strength of ResQ has been an absolute force to be reckoned with. Don't get me wrong. The setup that's coming in from G2 to put her in those positions has been impeccable. Maybe expected to get a couple. If you got a superstar duelist, you go, okay, 2's fair. She's delivering so much more than that every single round. And well, you can see it's very sort of calm on the G2 side right now. The pause comes up. I don't think there's a lot to say. Keep putting your utility in and keep letting ResQ kill everyone, and it's going to be an easy day at the office.
Yeah, well, based on what we've seen so far, there's a strategy that involves the team that gets them a couple round wins, but then there's a lot more strategies that just seem to be around ResQ. I like the push up this round. You know, it's not just one-dimensional. We saw big individual rounds from her. We saw her in the pistol round pick up 4 kills and those kind of things. Yes, that's just you being good. You can look at it like your opponent's making mistakes, but if you're able to consistently put out those blind sides, you got to start asking the question, Are all your opponents bad, or are you just really damn good? And I think that's the case with Rescue. Paranoia used here, spins on a dime to trade her teammate, and runs out of ammo in the end. Acceptable way to go down. For G2, like I said, it just doesn't seem to be a weakness when it comes to Rescue. And then you've got the rest of the team to back you up. I just don't know how you win this game.
Well, they're hoping that maybe Mayuri could start things off with a bang. Done a little bit of chip damage, but as you can see, Rescue is not deterred. They're taking that control, but it's more of a ruse. Petra and Mimi, the deadly duo in and out of the server, are the ones they have to face off against with far weaker weaponry, and well, it is a slaughter. 3 players down to Petra, and well, it leaves Sarah and Jolina with a task again that just comes down to damage. The chance of you winning this is nigh on impossible. I think we'd be looking at the VOD for years to come as to how G2 lost against 2 pistols with 4 rifles, a showstopper, and no ground taken. This would be studied. But if they could take a couple of kills, maybe get themselves a plant, earn some extra credits, ult orbs, you name it, that would be nice. And well, there you go, at least 1 for Jolina. I thought this was going to be another flawless, and that's a tasty shot, but this is Petra's round. 4 kills for her. G2, 2 away from taking that first map in style.
They absolutely are. Yeah, when we talk about this behind the scenes, we had a lot of faith in GX. We had some people believing in them. Hell, we had analysts swapping their votes to go to GX. Sue's brainwashing people out here. But
she likes the cats, that's what she said, right?
Yeah,
the thing that swayed her was Smurfette's cats.
Okay. Running, gunning through the wall without seeing them. That's one way to do it. And she certainly does it. Yeah, I think you're very right. What swiftly changed their opinion was the music taste of the cats. But regardless, it doesn't seem like it was warranted. G2, the same unstoppable beast we've seen many times before. And unpopular opinion, Tom, 11-5, pretty good scoreline for G2.
And to be honest, on this map, it's about average.
For them, it is. Yeah, you're right.
It's genuinely average. Mayuri, this has to be a free kill, finally. She has managed to beat her Turkish counterpart and find an opening pick. Again, though, this is a hard lurk from her. The rest of the team are hedging their bets towards this C site. 2 players to defend it, the double Senti to try and deal with a well-timed wall. It's going to make this incredibly awkward. It has to be broken. The game has to be given away. What players are here? They're going to try and double back and face off against Vanya instead.
Let's see if that's a wise choice. She will find the first, but goes down after. A lot of utility put in, though. That C's is keeping them in position. It's given some kills, though, to GX as the firing squad rips apart G2's lines and finally takes down Amy. There it is. A round on the board for GX. And if there is hope, that could be the round that ignites the spark.
They need to bring this into a streak of rounds. No doubt about it. That's what everybody's fighting for. You can talk about the seeding at champs. You can talk about the glory of taking that #1 in EMEA. And everybody wants a trophy. Everybody wants something in the cabinet. I'm sure for GX especially. No offense to the other team, but I don't think they were getting a trophy this year. This is definitely their best chance. I'm sorry, Pipson. For G2, as I said, it would join a full cabinet, but to be the first at something again, something that this G2 roster has done many a time, winning champs, going on streaks. But a trophy in the cabinet is something that every single player on this stage will desire. But now, though, building back up, early C control, but this is just something GX are doing. They take the orb, bait out the doors, try and force players into making mistakes, but with a full utility setup on A, 2 players on B, I don't expect much of a rotation from G2.
Not ready yet.
How does that B site hit? We've seen this before from GX. Success on the B site. Lots of utility primed and ready. Stun, Paranoia, Nade will go in and blast packs with it. They'll take this space quickly. Even a reveal And it gets them all the control they could possibly wish for. Showstopper fired out. It is just used for the crowd control, but buying space is all that it needed to do. On the other side, Rescue, not quite the same story. She'll go down in a trade with Sarah's utility. And in the meantime, Smurfette gets up close, ready. But Petra will catch her with this ultimate. They'll find the information one way or another, knowing just how close she is. The swing in catches them by surprise. GX still with a 3 versus 2. The numbers traded back by Petra. She's got more to do. Haunt in the open, finding Ness, but Ness finds the kill. GX 4 behind, but catching up.
They came close. I think we were looking at this round as almost a done deal. Smurfette's aggression to buy extra time, and then a couple of kills going in their favor. But for now, at least, Ness will be able to weather the storm. And she is someone as well that we talk about experience, we talk about players that have been able to beat G2. She's up there, even in a couple of years ago in that final stage 3. And she is someone as well that when she gets off the mark, she is an impeccable player. Like when she is going, she can be tougher to stop than anybody. In fact, back in the day, we talk about Turkish Jets. She has to be in the argument. If you've not been watching GC a long time, you might doubt that. You think, oh, Sova, Faye, like those are the agents she's always played. But she was a nasty Jet.
Well, a minute and 10 to get that spike in. You can see the GX are not in a rush. A very different look to this squad. They pushed B twice now, and now they sit outside it, holding it, waiting for that push to come in, waiting for them to get curious. It's a great idea. G2 are likely to commit a lot of resources to defending B, and when they see nothing, they need information. They push, they find a player waiting. In fact, they find many players waiting. Now, GX with the advantage, they know they're up against weaker weapons. They group up, play this together, push aside. I'm really enjoying these rounds. Not just finding round wins, but earning them. That's what it's all about. G2 have got 2 players on the A side. This is the only downside, really, and the time taken to break some of this utility is going to allow further rotations. They'll be running into a lot. Already pushing Vanya up top. It's pistols, but they're close, but they've got the numbers. They've got the opportunities. And on G2, sometimes that's all they need, but luckily put to bed here with Amy in a 1v3.
The leader of Smurfette brought this back from the fray, but there's always time for Amy to cause them problems once again. Still only a pistol. Weapons yet to be retrieved, but she's trying to bait out the idea that she's going for it. Trying to convince her opponent that she's fighting for those guns. Instead, she's going to get right up close. It took an immediate response from Smurfette, a quad for her to close out this round, but again, it was damn close.
Extremely close. Considering it's an outlaw headshot to trade it, I think a body would have been enough. I don't think she had full shields. But even still, it's, you know, you're scoped in, you're looking the wrong way, you give a split second to react, and that round slips out of your hands. Not something GX could allow to do, but thankfully, the round is on the board in their favor. The gap is closing. And the reality is, we talk about double digits as a good goal for any team coming up against G2 on this map. Well, yeah. For GX, they're not going to settle for that. And they're getting closer and closer to at least securing the double. Maybe even the map win. 3 rounds between them, though. That's a lot of runway for a team like G2.
That's the thing. We've seen a pause already from G2. An opportunity for Asker and Leader to talk. And while last time Leader had a pause, was the streak 5 rounds in a row? It was an immediate response. I think he's definitely someone that has brought a lot to this team. I think coaches in the past for them as well have always been solid in terms of those pauses, in terms of bringing them back. And in this scenario, you're already in the lead. You're already up against a streak of rounds, but with Smurfette starting to come online, that's the thing, as said. There is few duelists on the planet I think can go toe-to-toe with anyone else, but Smurfette is one of them. On her day, she is the best of the best.
Well, she's going to have to be activated here for the rest of these rounds. Vanya, there was a big risk about to be taken, but she's made the right call. Hunter's Fury put through, knowing there's a player close, but it finds not a whole lot, nothing. In fact, sends them back. Rolling Thunder catches the players on B. Paranoia used it, it slows them. It stops them capitalizing on the Rolling Thunder. That's a beautiful counter of utility. And for Vanya, well worth the investment. Now our teammates can fight back for that space they lost, but they won't win the duels. Sarah stepping up against her former squad, taking down 2, and G2 have Mimi on the site. A nasty little spot in the corner, but even that is cleared. GX are on their game right now.
Yeah, I thought the ultimates were ultimately a failure, but the way that they managed to recover Sarah, an impactful double once again, and it seems like we've seen this a few times now where Amy's just kind of stuck out. Her site has not been pressured or pushed, and because of that, it has to result in a save. GX have quelled the curse of the pause. And with 4 players alive, finance is starting to boom. That streak of rounds continues. I do believe that, again, like going back to this stage and the last stage, that's already the best anyone has done on this map versus G2. And they are looking like a team that might be able to take this the whole way.
Oh, they could. Look, they've made it this far. There's no reason they can't go a little bit farther. Big kills by Vanya at the end. Some weapons retrieved, or removed, I should say, from the hands of GX. But right now, streak of rounds, economy should be there for them. Oh, he's shy. Throw the wave out. Go on. Ah, it's okay. We'll let him enjoy the show.
It's always going to be nerve-wracking seeing your face off on the big screen.
Massive
You're looking
screen.
That is me. That's me. I still get that.
Yeah. I want to hide every time.
only done this for like 8 years, and I was 22 when I started, so.
Well, you old, Tom.
I am old. Getting there.
Double digits in the 3s. Well, Smurfette takes down Rescue off rip, an immediate punish of the defensive side. Raze, one that's had so much impact, but then she goes down herself. Now it's left to the rest of the squads to pick up the pieces. GX set their sights on C, but there's quite a welcoming party awaiting them.
There, Ken. G2, even in these rounds, have been dangerous. We saw the last one coming down to the 1v1 with Amy putting up numbers with the Sheriff. Well, now she has that hero rifle. It's also where her setup is. As I said, I feel like GX have done a good job to sort of avoid Amy, and especially avoid the combination of her and Mimi, like setting them up on the same site, leaving her somewhat isolated, but with so much utility to play with. But it's that patience from GX. And we talk about this team being aggressive, fiery, in your face, pacey. In this map right now, they're not. They're tentative. They're making sure that each angle is cleared, even if it's an obscure one. Take the last round on the B site. Like, the position of Mimi is not a regular one. Now, though, they look to fight into the setup, and it's not looking like the best start.
Oh, GX right in there with the double for Ness, and they've managed to recover Jolena. They're not quite annihilated this time. Instead, it's going to be Vanya having to clutch this out. 1 versus 3. The time was low. They ran into a lot of players, and even just 30 seconds before that, 2 Sentinels fully stacked up all their utility. They deal with it. GX, huge advantage to close out this round. Vanya, okay, good for the first. Might even have seen the second. No, didn't quite catch the second. Now the info's there, but it comes at the cost of her life. 10 rounds on the board. GX have reached double digits, and they are just 1 behind G2. Tom and Billy can't believe what they're seeing.
I can believe it. Very much believe it. But no, this has been impressive, to say the least. Like, again, they're walking into some of these traps, but even with the combinations of utility, the trades are there thick and fast. I think Ness, again, high impact frags, and you always fear for a moment that Vanya might be able to turn the tide, but not this time. I'll also note as well that after a blitzing first half, Rescue has gone quiet. She was the difference maker in that first. And don't get me wrong, you'll look at her stats and go, what are you talking about? But I think she was like 22 and 10 or something like that. I don't know if she's actually had a kill in this half.
It's been quiet. I think she might have gotten 1 or 2, but that is it. It's here and there. A hell of a slowdown. We knew it had to happen eventually. You can't play on that kind of form all day long, or no one else gets a chance to lift trophies. Amy has a little bit of a battle brewing towards that B side, and the rotation from Mimi's coming in to support. Rescue finally shows up. 2 players taken down. Will it be enough? The spike's being delayed. These players decayed, will get their health back soon. They're taking their moment to try to strike back. Seizing control towards the spawn, pushing further in. No, they decide to go back. The spike can't go walkabouts in the spawn. It has to be planted on the site. It's Sarah's time to do that, and this is going to leave two players unable to help, unable to assist, and provide that coverage. Smurfette, the swing on the stun. In fact, they go for it. They don't want to just plant with the numbers disadvantage. Instead, taking the fights, taking the space, and now 3v3.
And they've still got to be careful. There's a second player around that position, but again, they're not just going to sit back, not going to sit pretty. Amy, though, quick enough to correct. The second player being spotted, and she has support from Mimi as well. This leaves Smurfette, leader of the squad, one of the leaders in the server, but this is a lot to ask of her, and it's going to be the one and done. After a streak of rounds, double digits found, it'll be G2 that make their way to map point.
That's it, 2 chances to close this map out now, and if that round's anything to go by and Rescue's back online, this one's going to be a quick conclusion. Still, they've pushed them the distance on GX, and I'll look at it from a different angle. That's a bump in the road for GX. That's one hiccup, but they can go right back to winning ways 2 rounds in a row. It's not too much to ask of any squad, especially with how things have gone here so far.
Yeah, there was, again, moments of timing in this round where Amy looks the other way for an extra second, and that easily could have gone back in the other direction. It now comes down to this. Ultimates, a lot fairly close, but none of them actually online. Rescues is probably the one alongside Sarah's that you'd focus on. One away, and with orbs to be found, that Rolling Thunder will be available to them. Again, this 1-2 punch of Petra alongside Rescue. Petra's going alone, going for the fight, and she gets an isolated jaw. I would have thought there'd be a look for a trade, but they were trying to set up the ultimate instead. She's going to use the C's, stuns being thrown out. That might just be the beginning of the end as they look to retake this before it's even begun. Rescue with another, and she'll close it as she started. A phenomenal showing from this youngster on the stage. We worried for a second that maybe she wouldn't be there on LAN. That didn't last long at all.
It looked all right. It looked all right down there. Yeah, this is a squad that we know is likely to take this one 3-0. That's what we talk about at home. That's what the desk will talk about. But there was a serious fight here today. Much more than I think most people expected to see on map 1. Double digits achieved. As you said, Tom, it's better than anyone's hit, over the last 2 stages. That's a monumental achievement and a building block laid that could take them further in this series. They've had a good start. Next map could be theirs.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Either way, we're going to find out after the break. We'll be back soon.